Lesson 38, A Course in Miracles. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. So yesterday, lesson 37 was My Holiness Blesses the World. And after I did that lesson, I found an old video that I did called, I think it was on YouTube, and it was relationships work when you don't need anything. And it was really funny because it was about that concept of wholeness. And when we are whole and when we realize our wholeness, we project that out onto the world, and that comes back to us, and people can embrace their wholeness, and that's where we want to go. Okay, so lesson 38, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as a son of God at one with the mind of his creator. Through your holiness, the power of God is made manifest. Through your holiness, the power of God is made available, and there is nothing the power of God cannot do. Your holiness, then, can remove all pain, can end all sorrow, and can solve all problems. It can do so in connection with yourself and with anyone else. It is equal in its power to help anyone because it is equal in its power to save anyone. If you are holy, so is everything God created. You are holy because all things he created are holy, and all things he created are holy because you are. In today's exercises, we will apply the power of your holiness to all problems, difficulties, or sufferings in any form that you happen to think of, in yourself or in someone else. We will make no distinctions because there are no distinctions. In the 4 longer practice periods, each preferably to last a full 5 minutes, repeat the idea for today. Close your eyes and then search your mind for any sense of loss or unhappiness of any kind as you see it. Try to make as little distinction as possible between a situation that is difficult for you and one that is difficult for someone else. Identify the situation specifically and also the name of the person concerned. Use this form in applying the idea for today. In the situation involving blank in which I see myself, there is nothing that my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving blank in which blank sees himself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. From time to time, you may want to vary this procedure and add some relevant thoughts of your own. You might like, for example, to include such thoughts as, there is nothing my holiness cannot do because the power of God lies in it. Introduce whatever variations appeal to you, but keep the exercises focused on the theme. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. The purpose of today's exercises is to begin to instill in you a sense that you have dominion over all things because of what you are. In the frequent shorter applications, apply the idea in its original form unless a specific problem concerning you or someone else arises or comes to mind. In that event, use the more specific form in applying the idea to it. So since the eclipse, I've been kind of feeling like I crossed a line, and I'm kind of looking back. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm leaving something behind. And so I've been talking to God about that. And what came through the other night was that the ego is dying. The ego is kind of dissolving. And because of this, I had heard something recently about how ego is going to come up for people. Like our egos are going to come up a lot. And so it was funny because I went to a workshop yesterday and my ego was all over the place. So before your ego dissolves, it comes up and you get to know it really well. You get to know when it comes up and how it appears, and how much the ego tries to control and tries to be on top and tries to really tries to control. So my ego was all over the place last night, and I interpreted the dream through my ego of like, my ego is dissolving. But really, I think the real message is that our egos are dissolving as we become more and more spirit. And as we bring our spirits into the world, that's what's going to save the world. And that's what the Course in Miracles is all about. So don't be afraid or ashamed if your ego does pop up. It's just you, it's surfacing so you can let it go. I was a little ashamed because I was talking about how my ego was dissolving, and here it is all over the place. Judging other people, like, oh, I have more healing than that, It's not pretty. The ego's not pretty. But it served its purpose. And now let's move into something new. Let's move into something greater.